Good afternoon, one and all present over here. So we'll start with the webinar today. Thank you everybody for joining us. I welcome you all to our Design Dialogue Series 2022. I am Ishaanee from Bangalore School of Design and your moderator for today's webinar. In our endeavor to bring in the best design practice, exposure to the students community, BSD has started a Design Dialogue Series, a platform to start conversations about different allied topics of design and an opportunity to dialogue with students, professionals, and those interested across the world. We are giving an opportunity to today designs aspirants from across the world to connect and learn from practicing designers. Today, we have Dr. Pooja Jain, who is also an academic dean from Srishti Manipal College, as our speaker. Hi Pooja, good afternoon to you.
Very good afternoon, Ishaanee, and
yeah, please.
No, that's all. Very good afternoon to you and to one and all present here. Yes.
Thank you so much. Please note, question and answer session is towards the end of this session. I request the participants to use the question and answer section or the chat section to drop in your queries, and I will take them up individually. Before we start today's webinar, I would like to quickly introduce Bangalore School of Design. BSD works with a mission to educate students to achieve excellence and create meaningful, responsible, and creative design. So I'll start with my presentation showing you about BSD over here. So our focused curriculum enables us to deliver core professional knowledge on prioritizing studio learning, practical application-based learning, and more. All our undergraduate programs are affiliated with Bangalore North University. Our academic partnership is with College de Paris and Conte supports our endeavor to bring in world-class design education. Some of our courses, academic courses we offer across are interior design, architecture, graphic design, UI and UX, landscape, furniture, and structural design. Now coming back to today's webinar, I would like to introduce Dr. Pooja Jain. So Dr. Pooja Jain is a creative communication enthusiast with 10 years of experience in advertising, research, and teaching in UG and PG programs in varied setups. She holds a Ph.D. in advertising from University of Delhi. Her expertise lies in visual communication with a user-centric strategic approach accompanied with a robust process of research, experiment, and validation. She has presented papers in several international and national conferences apart from publicizing her critical writings in international peer-reviewed journals of high repute. Currently, she is working as an Associate Academic Dean of PG Programs and faculty at Manipal, Srishti Manipal Institute of Design, Bengaluru. Now I would request Dr. Pooja to address the audience we have today.
All right. Thank you so much, Ishaanee, and a very good afternoon to all the gathering out here. And I'll just begin off with my presentation.
Am I audible? Yes. Thank you, Pooja. I have a quick question for you before we start the presentation. So how did you choose visual communication and advertising as your career, and was there any inspiration for you?
Okay, so yes, there was a big inspiration, and the biggest inspiration, actually, I was a science student. I was a science bio student, and I never had design as my aspiring career at that particular moment. But then I had a couple of friends who chose this, and I was quite interested into seeing what all they do. And somewhere the creative inside me has always had this curiosity to know more about the design as a career. And that was the turning point when I actually dropped my science bio and my dream of becoming an actual doctor, an MBBS doctor. And I left all that and I just stepped up and jumped into the field of design. And it was never ever a looking back thing then. I absolutely loved each and every moment of me being a student, being an aspiring practitioner, and now being a practitioner itself. Everything, every day has taught me, has given me a new design phase, a new thing that I always look up to as as a learning. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, that's all about me.
That's really so nice actually, Pooja. It's so motivating. So it looks like you have found your calling, and we wish you a great success ahead. So our topic for today, designing visuals for today and tomorrow, and I'll hand it over now to Dr. Pooja from this following question. So Pooja, from your perspective, how has visual design evolved over the last few years, and would you be able to showcase any significant change in design language to us?
Absolutely. I mean, design has drastically changed. And for me to tell you about how design has evolved and how the trends have been changing, my entire presentation for today and the whole, the overarching context has been the design for today and tomorrow. And with that, I'll begin my presentation and I'll take you through the few initial slides which will address to this question which you have asked me, Ishaanee, about how design and in specific visual design has been evolved through ages. To be very honest, summing up design in just 45 minutes or an hour webinar is really a humongous task. But I've tried to pinpoint and highlight those major areas which kind of created a revolution or was enough to transform the whole design scenario. So with that, I'll just present my screen.
Sure.
Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
All right. So we begin with the presentation for tomorrow, which is for today, which is designing for today and tomorrow. And I would like to address it with a very interesting quote. Every aspect of tomorrow is being designed today, and you are designing it. So we first have to really believe in ourselves, since we are into this field. So we are the creators, and we have to believe in ourselves. Then only we can see what design has evolved into and how it has the prosperous future. Change is one of the most challenging and satisfying aspect of design. So, I mean, I don't know, but I'm just assuming that most of you would be aware that the earliest days of design were more on hands-on dependent. So, designers or probably artists, they used to sketch and create on walls or maybe cave paintings. All these are the prehistory or maybe the beginning of what we know as design of today. But as industry more flourished and it became more fundamentally connected with technology and innovation, the actual field of design began to evolve. And technology with innovation has certainly brought us innumerable possibilities. And what we look at it now is the new landscape. But the larger question is that often we or I have seen many designers having this anxiety in themselves that, okay, design is such a huge space. What do we do? So we'll address that later. So, just to have a quick sneak peek into the evolution, this timeline talks about the evolution of visual design, wherein some of the earliest design included typography for books and newspapers, which began in the early 1900s. One could also argue drawing some cave walls that represents the earliest form of ancient graphics. 1940s shows us the posters, the beginning of posters, and being propaganda poster being the one of the most popular one at that time. In 1960, with the advent of television, the kind of design changed again, and of course we started seeing the broadcast design, which we call it as the broadcast media, and it also became, and also first time the flyer was seen. I hope everybody knows the flyer. If not, please drop a comment on the chat, and I'll just look at it later. In 1970s, symmetrical blended colors came into existence, and first time a brand ambassador became the new trend. So what we see today was it was 1970 when it began. The first brand ambassador came into existence. 1980s was all about bold, bright, flashy colors and blocky text. And this was the time when Apple introduced us to the machine which are popularly known as computers or desktops. First time a computer, a colored computer, was came into existence. And on this note, I would really request all the students to go and maybe later, but to go and check out the 1984 Apple commercial, which was the and that's an amazing example of a television commercial, and also the whole strategy that they brought in into showing this change in design. It itself is a very good example. 1990 showed us or introduced us to Photoshop, that is quite popular amongst all the designers today. And the first version of Photoshop came into existence at that time. And 2000 onwards, probably to till date, what we are today or what we are seeing today, the designers have always been believing, realizing the importance of designing and the new trends of it, and have been trying to amalgamate these things. So this is how the evolution of visual design has been. And if we see it today, to be very, very specific, the design of past and present determine a significant aspect of our future. Today, function has overridden superfluous design. Something which is not necessary is not being kept in the design. Minimalism is at its peak. Flat design has been quite popular nowadays, and no more gradients, no more shadows, and probably drop shadows and three-dimensionality as is being seen. Design has also taken a multi-type approach, that means juxtaposing dissimilar typefaces in order to grab viewers' attention. Also, ultra minimal aesthetics are visible into all the design aspects into today's design, and bold and experimental designs with intentional communication is the latest trend that we saw probably as a result of the pandemic that we have just been into. So these are the crux of the primarily the design trends that are visible to us today.
So, Pooja, that today's world's goal is to bring about sustainability across all forms. So, would you say graphic designers have a role to play? And in terms of visual communication, packaging design, etc.,
I would say there's no such thing which designers, or rather to be very specific, graphic designers cannot do. And for sure, sustainability is something that has deeply enrooted now into all our design practices, and people are looking to it. If they haven't done it yet, they are definitely looking to it as one of the promising strategy for their future. So, keeping that in mind, sustainable design is the wave of the future. Sustainable design is not just any common strategy, but it's basically a movement that is focused on the principles that are involved in developing sustainable design. But it's nothing something new. This has already been with us, amongst us, around us from a very long time. So concepts like designing products and packaging to be reused and reworked into new products later is something that we have already seen in our past also. But how it has evolved into new trends of sustainable design is something probably I just have noted over here. So the product life cycle, telling and awareing people about introduction, growth, maturity, and decline of any product in terms of the sustainable aspect is something that can be seen nowadays. Circular economy. This is a term which is at its height. So circular economy is something what each brand, each businesses are looking up to, prioritizing reuse of their products, materials, and overall reduction of waste. Modularity is extent to which its component can be taken apart and put together into new configurations. Repairability, how easily an object can be repaired, alternatives promote waste. So people are actually looking if something is wrong with the product, it can be repaired rather than just being replaced by an alternative. Remanufacturing, reconstruction of the product to its original look and shape, using some new or used parts, and greenwashing. Greenwashing is nothing but applying and adapting eco-conscious practices. One of the most popular brand, Apple, has recently, I mean, of course they have been doing it from a very long time, but this is a very recent strategy that they have taken in the terms of sustainability with their three-part strategy, which is for the upcoming sale of their new products. They're applying it of making use of paper more efficiently and wherever possible using recycled paper, sourcing of virgin fiber, and protecting and creating sustainable functioning forests. They are looking all these three as their major goals. In their environmental progress report of 2021, Apple said that one of their main goals is to eliminate plastic in their packaging by 2030 and alternating with recycled and renewed material to produce new packaging. So, I mean, how 2030 is not too far, but they have their goals listed and they're constantly working for that. Another brand, Unilever, has come up with this concept of the Unilever Compass, which has the goal towards sustainability, emphasizing on zero emission in the operations by 2030, deforest free supply network by 2023, and 50% reduction in the usage of their virgin plastic. So their campaign or their framework, which has been into position of all these things, all these frameworks, they execute it in all their brand businesses. Amazon, in their recent report of sustainability report of 2020, said that they have certain commitments towards their sustainable future, which talks about renewable energy, which is 100 using 100% renewable energy by 2025, making their shipment completely zero carbon. Also, with the net zero carbon footprints by we look as our future for design. So AR VR instantly flashes in mind when it comes to the design future. So the rate of change is enough to make one's head spin, and the graphics are all the graphic design or all the design which are happening nowadays are looking to AR, VR, and are kind of resonating to those kind of strategies for a better experience, in setting up a better experience with their consumers. Ethereal design is also something new that will take the visual element entirely in the future. Future holds the post-linguistic society in full swing, so text will seem to totally absolute in the coming future, and responsive design is something that could be seen. So these are something which certain design elements or the design new ideas of design or ideologies which we are hoping to see in the coming future. Talking about this, the AI thing is also something which designers definitely are taking into consideration in order to create images that are impossible for them to create otherwise. So AI is nothing but is a kind of a magic tool in the hands of the designers of today, which they're using for making their better future. So the AI is done by analyzing the users and then by creating the brand identities, which are the logos or complete layouts for probably a website, by analyzing the relevance of different objects to be created with the help of the cognitive abilities. So that's something which is very important, which probably was could not be seen in the earlier designs, but yes, of course, now it's very much into popularity. Besides AI, creative pragmatism is also something which holds the future of design. It is a concept from two opposing ideas, being creative and pragmatic. So creativity sparks the imagination, which means being bold, expressive, and inspirational, whereas pragmatism refers to the realistic aspect of it. So, other than the theoretical considerations and the practical considerations, what is reality is something that comes up under the pragmatism. And when we blend into these things comes the creative pragmatism. Something which is definitely bold, expressive, and inspirational should come out, but into a reality with some reality touch. Website overlays, which we often see as pop ups, will soon diminish. It will fade away. People will see in the future that how these website overlays are just taking off the getting off the picture, because people or the viewers hate to be interrupted. So of course this will be something which we can see in the future. Also, logos will be temporal. So for decades logos have been designed with longevity in mind, but now even all the brands, all the industries, businesses are expecting their logo for a shorter duration or kind of dynamic, which can be accustomed to any multiple platforms, be it on digital media or be it on, on broadcast or anywhere else, and not for a longer duration. They want a freshness with the logo and they want to keep it changing. So the lifespan of a logo will be seen, uh, shortening. E-commerce bots will go on the selling space. So nowadays we have seen a lot of websites have these e-commerce bots, or probably we say e-bots. So e-bots, if you book a ticket on and on an airline, and to avoid long queues on the customer cares, they advise you to go and talk to their e-boots. E-bots means the people. It's like an electronic robot who's helping you resolve your query. So these kind of simple chatbots are very much into popularity nowadays, and this definitely will increase in the future. And they are designed in such a way to perform the specific task and with a high effectiveness. So yes, of course, that's also one of the future aspects. Data visualization and infographics will dominate the social sector or the social platform. Designers will be seen helping clients ignite their social channels by creating very bright, attractive visuals and delivering information through statistical clarity and human connection. Here also we can say AR, VR, or probably AI plays an important role. Monochromatic illustrations will be seen as increasing in number, because brands will be seen using more illustrations than ever. So of course the color palette will also evolve. Natural and manufactured juxtaposition. Gucci has been one brand which has showcased a very interesting theme, launching their new range of products, which is called Gucci Bloom Fragrance, creating a very gamified virtual experience. And many Indian brands are looking up to that campaign, that ideation, and have been trying to implement that just to establish a very effective user experience. So these kind of things will also be seen more frequently with brands into the future. Outsized typography, exaggerated sizes, and violating conventional hierarchies, playing with scale and alignment could be seen in big posters or banners. Images cut off and obscure portions of text and unpolished elements will also catch the eye. because this is something which people have not been used to seeing. So if there is something which we offer as new to the eye, it will definitely grab some attention. Okay, so I would, but the thing is that in spite of we know what all is happening in the design industry today and what all would be seeing in the design in the coming future, the larger question is that in most of the design process, the design thinking has been missing, and that's what I would really want to highlight over here to my students over here in this presentation, to all the students or the aspiring practitioners, that develop your design thinking in such a way that it helps you to envision the future, or with the innovation into it. Do not accept something which is right now with you and do not stick to it, that it will be there for say 10 years down the line. Just think of it as every day as a new challenge and add the innovative edge to it. So, in order to break the paradigms and create the futures we aspire to live in, we must move beyond designing for today's needs, look towards the edge, and make shifts that fit our capabilities and culture. So I would really want each and everyone out here hearing me to continue to make shifts. This shift is really, really important. This is what has led us to what we are today. And if we continue to keep it, of course, with innovation in place, then we cannot even imagine where design can reach out to. And it's something beyond imagination. So, with that, I would just like to end up my presentation with this note and with a very quick quote. Let's take over an opportunity to recognize the value of design and its capacity for effect change for a terrific today and a tremendous tomorrow. That's it.
Thank
Ishaanee, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pooja. The information that I got, I learned a lot from your what information you showed me, and it was quite insightful. Our audience must have been very much overwhelmed to know about everything that you showed us over here, and how to give a creative edge to our designs, and how not to be, bound with the boundaries what we have been doing it in the past, to change with the current trends and everything. So there are a few other questions but I would like to ask you, Pooja, and the other is like the fundamental designs tools that we use today are from Adobe Suite. So are there any alternate design software tools one should consider now?
Definitely. I mean, Adobe Suite is somewhat what we say that is what the designers of today have been born and brought up with. But it's something that we have to definitely keep with us. But it's time for us to open our arms for many new softwares which are into place, and the more the better it is. So besides the Adobe Graphics Suite, which is definitely a very helpful toolkit, we have Coral Draw Graphics Suite, which is another very user-friendly software for all the graphics students, graphic design students. Besides that, there are spaces, I mean, platforms like InkSpace, Sketch, and Figma, Wix. I think all these, I'll probably put these names if you want me to on the chat. Can I stop sharing, Ishaanee?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I'm just putting randomly, I mean, for all the one to make a note of it, so that these are some which everyone should try, and very good platforms. And of course, for on nowadays, I mean, when we were being online, Miro and Mural is also something which really helped most of the designers to articulate their ideas, to assimilate their design thinking ideas and articulate into a design outcome. So, of course, these are certain platforms which are really good in order to enable a designer. Yeah.
Thank you, Pooja. Like it will be helping our audience over here who are really interested in graphic designing. So, Dr. Pooja, being a practicing designer and educator yourself, do you feel visual designers need to upskill on a regular basis? If yes, what are the go-to options would you suggest for the young audience here?
It's not just only designers who need to upskill. I think everywhere in every industry, it's really important for us to keep up to date. And of course, for design, since we know how design, we have just seen us. We had a quick sneak peek to how design has changed and has drastically transformed. If we are not keeping ourselves upskilled, or kind of acquainted with what these things are, what changes are happening, we are lacking somewhere. We are not keeping the pace with how design has been changing. So it's really important, and upskilling is important, and there are many ways of doing upskilling, and to be kind of aware of, or to acquaint with us, with the design industry and the design trends. There are certain places where from where we can always get to know what is happening in the design world, and I'm putting that as well.
Thank you so much for mentioning the links also for our audience who wants to know more.
Yeah. So I'm writing this. Type Foundry can be very good platform for fonts. Those who are into typography, do check that out. It's really a nice resource. No longer Google is the only place which has the monopoly of giving you good images. Pinterest, we all know about it. Now, besides Pinterest, this Free Pick India can also be a platform which through which students can have access to very good high resolution images. And there's this place called unsplash.com, which also serves the same purpose. Those who are interested into color palettes and experimenting and making innovations with use of colors, colorlovers.com can be a very good space for them. And those who are into content writing, answerthepublic.com can be the apt space for them to check out some references for the content, how content marketing plays a very major role in design. So yeah, and of course, keep I mean, each one of us as design practitioners should keep ourselves updated on the online portals of portfolios like Behance, Dribble, and WordPress, through which we can create our own website. But Behance and Dribble is something where it's like religiously we should go and check out what's happening across the globe in design on these two platforms where people are putting up their portfolio, and everyone should do that.
Thank you so much, Pooja. It was very informative. Plus the references that you have let it like for our audience. So the other question is like, of late we have seen tools like Canva aggressively being used by young designers. So would such tools limit one's creativity? And since these tools are predominantly template based and used for assembling of content, so what do you feel about it?
So you only have given the answer to this, that because of the pre-based templates, the pre-curated templates that is present on Canva.
Pooja, actually there is a network lag.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it clear, audible?
Yeah, now.
Okay, I think you only have given me given the answer to this, that Canva is popular amongst everyone because of the templates, the pre-curated templates available there. We all know that we are rushing. Okay, we don't have time, and in such a crunch of time, if we get something ready-made, who would not want that? So that's the main reason, but it doesn't mean that it's kind of harnessing or hampering our creativity. I mean, of course, there's a perspective to look at things. These kind of platforms like Canva with such curated templates can actually save time and can give you what you have been thinking in your mind in order to present your data and your information, and and to come up with an outcome, design outcome. Or students or practitioners can also look to these things and can take inspiration for their own designs. So it gives a structure to the whole design. So it's basically like there's a very famous saying that if a glass is filled with half water, how do you look at it, whether it's half filled or whether it is half empty? So it's just the same thing. Canva can be a very, very strong tool if used in a very holistic manner, or a power or a positive manner. Okay, this is not an escape from the actual design. This is something which probably designers can look up to when they don't have time, or when they are in a hurry, or when they need a structure. But besides that, if at all you have a different set of ideologies, and you think that, I don't need any structure for that or any template for that, you are more than welcome to create your own designs on Photoshop or any other platforms which give you many other editing options, or maybe many other opportunities to work on the design for. Canva is helpful, but then it has certain limitations also. It cannot gives you everything.
Thank you so much, Pooja. It's mostly about the perspective, and Canva can be like estimated as to be a support system rather than thinking like it's limiting
Yeah,
your
it's it's it's
creativity,
it's
right?
it's the support, system for those who want to run, who are actually running. That's
Time saver. Yeah. So the next question is like how most complex data have been broken down and are visually represented in today's world. Do you feel a graphic, a visual designer should learn analytics to represent data into graphical representations that humans can use to quickly draw insights?
Yes, and the very, very perfect example to explain this question is the user manual. So when we open a new packet and we see a user manual inside it, with all the graphical representation and the instructions written next to it, it becomes so easy for a user, for a new user, to open it, read it, and then assemble the product in such a way, or probably to have a knowledge about how to use that product. So this is one example which is probably can be best suited to information visualization. Besides this, graphs, use of graphs, pie charts, or maybe mind maps, which we often use it in our design thinking. All these things are really helpful in order to create a complex statistical or maybe analytical data, to break it down and to generate insights from them and integrate it into design thinking and a design outcome. So yes, it's really important, and the more visual it is, the more resonate it with the user. The person can just not read it, but can also see each part or each thing. And definitely, when you see a packaging, any packaging, on behind or maybe on the rear side of it, or somewhere instructions to use is mentioned. Why do they write it? And if they have images along with it, it's cherry on top of the cake. That is because to enable the user not to complicate himself with with the thought that, oh, how am I going to use it, or how am I going to assemble it. It becomes much easier for a user to connect instantly with the brand and the product, with that user friendly breakup of the data and the information. And that's where this information visualization really plays a major role.
Yeah, thank you, Pooja. It was like, no, I really felt it. The more simple the thing is, the more you will feel connected towards it. This is
Absolutely,
what we,
absolutely, yeah.
this is what it's doing. Yeah. So we learned quite a few things from like myself over here also, and my audience sure might have learned a lot. So I'm certain that students gathered here had an amazing learning experience from a practicing designer and an educator like yourself. Now I would like to open it up for a question and answer session, and request all the participants to drop in your queries in the chat or question and answer section, and I will take it up personally with the speaker. So students, like, it would be great if you write your queries, and we'll take it in 1 or 2 minutes ahead. Let's give time for the students to write in questions. Meanwhile, I have other questions like students personally gave me and wanted to know more about like if Pooja ma'am, it would be great if you could answer this for us. So is there a high demand for professionals of visual design and graphic design in the current market?
Yes. So one reason why I just said yes, because that's my profession. So I never ever doubt myself and what I'm doing, and I completely boast of it. So whenever I go, it's like that I'm always on the go wherever it's a social gathering, or if I'm going anywhere, any place, I do not miss a chance to just speak about my what I'm doing, how empowered I feel being a graphic designer, and how we have this very strong skill of effective communication. We are the ones who can you can literally visualize anything and can speak about it and can convince the people about it. So I mean, see, no one else can do it. I mean, no offenses to the other um, uh, career options or maybe other things. But then, yes, definitely, if being a designer and that too being a graphic designer adds an edge to you, adds that innovative edge to your personality overall, and it is very much into it's a very hyped and kind of something which will never ever fade away. This is a profession which was needed 10 years back or 20 years back. It's still needed today, and it will definitely be needed in the coming future. Just think of it in such a way that we are surrounded by brands. Our life is enveloped by brands around us. Can you even imagine any one thing which is not a brand, and which you probably right from the morning to night? Can you just tell me something which you come across and is not a product or a brand? So if our life cannot be imagined without it, we are the ones who are creating it. So how can anyone doubt on this notion that graphic designers do not have a future, or maybe this is not a very popular there's no doubt about it. This is something which is an essential career option.
Thank you, ma'am. So, other question is coming from Tarun, and he's like, I really want to become a graphic designer. And looking at the current present scenario, like there are a lot of tools being invented, and that is that anybody can use and do the work of a graphic designer. So, in the future, is it like that? Will it limit once? No, like with the jobs of graphic designer be very limited, or still it's going to be present, or like
Jobs,
the
no.
employee.
There will not be any limitation. Of course, the more and more graphic designers are coming out in the market, in the industry, the more job opportunities are rising. The only thing is that the person should fit into the right space. And for that, I mean, each and every graphic designer wants to go out and get a very nice job with a handsome salary package. That's the main thing. But they have to work hard for it. So it's just that you are all the designers are like fishes in the pond. But if you want to become that golden fish, you have to bring out the USP. So USP, there's this is a very common word we often use in the world of graphic designing, and when we talk about brands and advertising, it's the unique selling proposition. That means the uniqueness about yourself. Okay, so I tell all the people the same thing, that if you really want to move apart or stand apart from the herd, from the crowd, you have to identify that uniqueness, which will get you the perfect job, and then there's nothing, no struggles and nothing. But if you're just like any other designer, of course the struggle is there for you. So it's that right from the beginning, if you know that this is my strength, this is something which I'm really good at, try to improvise that particular skill set, the strength, with years, and how you grow. So whenever you will be graduated or whenever you are ready to enter into the market, that strength will speak for you, not you have to go and talk to the people. So that's how it works.
So true. So other question is coming from Shubhanshi. Like being a student of graphic design, what should I focus on during my learning years?
Um, First, design thinking. Stop thinking like a normal person. Come up with weird ideas. Something like we call out of the box thinking. Now, this out of the box has also become a very old conventional word. Now it's like stop thinking like a wild. Don't limit your ideas. Your actions need to be limited, not your ideas. Just give your ideas a freedom to just evolve, blossom, flourish, go into any direction. That's first important thing, because the more you think, the more you will be able to execute, and it will kind of imbibe into your personality. Second, communication. That's very, very important. If you have done something, if you have come up with a design, but you are unable to explain it, or you are unable to talk about it, then the credibility goes off, because nobody would believe that that design is yours. So that's also very important, to speak about your design. So that's second thing which a person should start practicing right from the beginning. I've seen many students hesitant in speaking. So the more presentations, the more collaborative activities, group works helps in building the communication, effective communication with the students. And third, most important, is developing the skill set on the graphic softwares, because now, I mean, of course, hand drawing, sketching is important for a very solid foundation, but the building can only be constructed if we know the softwares. Because if we think that we will make the building with our hands, it will take years and years. So now let technology be your friend, and just give the base to the technology, and let the softwares and the technology do the rest of the job. So keep that friend with you always.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So this is we'll be wrapping up with this last question over here. It is coming from Avinash. So he wants to know, like, how should a graphic designer upskill and efficiently accelerate the ways to address the process? In what sector should we work on the most for the post-pandemic situation?
I didn't get the question exactly. I mean, could you reiterate the question, Ishaanee? I mean, or maybe read
Yeah,
just read
actually,
it again.
yeah. So, how should a graphic designer upskill and efficiently accelerate the ways to address the process of designing, graphic designing, and in what sector we should work on the most for the post-pandemic situation?
See, this pandemic has given us a lot of new ways of thinking. Before pandemic, we were probably following a very stable set pattern into design, but this pandemic has kind of changed our whole perspective. Designers have started thinking, looking to the ways of design from very new avenues. And in order to for a designer to be upskilled or to be ready for certain unintended consequences, this pandemic was nothing but an unintended thing. We never had thought that something like this would have happened, but now I think this has been a learning lesson for all of us. So this pandemic has given us a lot of opportunities to rethink about how we have been designing, and how, with limitations and with very limited scope of design elements, we can come up with the best possible solutions, and what can be the platforms that can facilitate these solutions. So like I said, mural and miro, it kind of replaced the whole classroom teaching, because we were not being able to. I would have never thought of teaching design online. I always love to interact and meet in person with my students, taking online offline classes. But then we had no options. But then now I feel that Miro and Mural and platforms like these have really made that happen. So it's just that I mean, post pandemic now, I think we are more empowered with the tools that were already present there, and with the new set of tools, the new set of information, knowledge, and the design tools that we have used during the pandemic. So it's like that we are having more tools in our hand, which has already made us upskill, and we just need to keep on practicing on that. I hope I have tried to answer that question, if at all. Yes.
Thank you so much, Pooja. So we would like to bring this webinar to a close. Thank you for joining us today, and a special thanks for Pooja ma'am for taking your time out and sharing the knowledge with us, and everybody over here to sharing, like giving your valuable time and joining.
For giving me quite a lot of your patience. So, I mean, thanks to each and everyone from their tremendous work and support. Thank you.